Oh look, another animated YouTuber who was a quiet kid in school? Listen, we're not quiet because we're animators. We're animators because we're quiet, okay? For many people, being the quiet kid is more like a phase that you go through before becoming normal again. But for me, it was a slow transition that lasted more than 9 years. There are many types of kids in every class. You have the popular kids, the nerds, the school clowns, and then there are the quiet kids. Choosing to be the quiet kid must be some kind of insane New Game Plus challenge. Because wow, is it completely and utterly miserable. Back when I was 7, things weren't nearly as bad. I had friends, I was active in classes, and I even got good grades. The first year of school was easy. The kids were all new, so we were all in an equal position, and making friends was insanely easy.
Hey, wanna be friends? Sure, let's do it.
But then the second year of school happened. I still vividly remember the moment I got my first bad grade. That's how my villain arc started. Because I took joy and pride in being great at school. But after the first year, everything became so much more difficult to keep up. Even when I tried, I was too demotivated to lock in and get back on track. One bad grade turned into 2, and then it became a regular thing. Also, there's quite a bit of personal family stuff that I won't mention here, but trust me, it had an impact. But that wasn't all. Because by the end of the first year, the friend groups had already pretty much formed. And for whatever reason, I found myself outside literally all of them. It's kind of crazy to go from being friends with pretty much everyone to one day being friends with absolutely no one. And the thing about friend groups is that once one is formed, it's pretty much impossible for someone new to enter. I used to consider myself an introverted person, but now I don't think that was the case. Because I loved talking. But being a socially anxious extrovert, that is some next level irony. No matter what kind of situation I find myself in, I had 0 words in my head. And it's not like I couldn't arrange words into sentences. When I was feeling comfortable enough and something that I cared about was mentioned, I talked and I talked and I talked. As time went on, we also grew out of that age where you could just make friends spontaneously. It's been a few years since I started going to school, and I just find myself in a situation where pretty much everything I used to care about simply disappeared. I didn't talk to anyone, I couldn't care less about the school subject, I was too depressed to do any homework, and even video games. No wait, video games were still fun at the time. But you know, no matter how fun video games are, they're not enough to keep you happy. As I mentioned in the last video, try to have as many things that make you happy as possible. If your entire happiness relies on one hobby, person, or career, it will absolutely break you if you lose it. Was it any wonder that one day during classes, something genuinely funny happened for once, and one of our classmates started looking at me in complete shock, as if there was a ghost behind me. And when I asked why, he said, "Nothing, just, I never saw you smile before." I haven't really laughed or smiled in years, not unless I was browsing the web in the solitude of my bedroom, of course. But where did the old me go? Why am I like this? Why is it so difficult to just be normal? I don't care about being the popular kid, just normal. Is it too much to ask? Something clearly had to change. At the start of every year, I would promise myself that this time I would improve. I will finally become social, I will defy the odds, and finally start acting like a normal person. But unsurprisingly, nothing ever happened. The reputation prison is a bitch. Once enough time passes, that label becomes attached to you permanently. I was no longer just a classmate, I was that weird, quiet kid. Every time I took a deep breath and crawled out of my box, no one really said anything except something like,
Oh wow, this guy can actually talk.
it completely ruined my confidence, and every time it happened, it made me feel like it's completely pointless. And the worst part, I spent 9 years of my life with the same group of classmates. A few people came and went, but most people were the same all throughout the school years. Usually changing schools is an incredibly stressful and difficult event, but I really wanted to change schools. Not only because mine sucked ass, but also because that would give me an opportunity to start fresh. I had no friends in the school, so what did I even have to lose? Annoyingly, my parents always dismissed the idea. As if that's not enough, being the quiet kid also puts a giant target behind your back. Having no social skills and being that weird kid makes you so much more likely to be bullied, and some people try. But ultimately, I was able to dodge that. Not because I had some sick comebacks, not because my classmates were chill. They really were. And definitely not because I had some secret notebook that would make my enemies drop dead instant, but because I was boring. Like really boring. So I was mostly left alone and ignored. By the time I was 14, I mostly just stopped trying because no matter what I did, I just ended up in uncomfortable, awkward situations. This wasn't just limited to classes. No matter what kind of social situation I found myself in, I always turned into that kid. I could come up with the funniest, most creative shit ever and be too terrified to say it. 9 years. I spent 9 years going to school that I hated just to pretend to be a background character for a few hours before going home. I despised every single day of my life, and I wanted nothing but for something to change. Here's the thing. Last video I said something controversial. People don't change.
People don't change.
Most of the time. But here's the thing. People only change when they put lots of time and effort into it. But most people don't. They don't expect others to change. But you can definitely change if you put your mind to it. It will be hard and it will take a long time, but it's possible. Once I went to college, things slowly started to change. Admittedly, I was still the quiet kid initially, but people were a lot more chill there, and I was a lot more optimistic and interested in studying because I was finally learning something that I actually cared about. First time ever, coming out of my bubble, it was paying off. I was making progress, making friends, and while I was still more quiet than my average classmate, I was no longer the outcast. Remember that it's not always your fault that you became the quiet kid, but it's up to you to change it. No one can save you if you don't want to be saved. If you accept the idea that things will never change, and then in all likelihood they never will, you got the label, but it's not actually permanent. Under different circumstances, if things didn't happen the way they did, you would have been completely different. So if you can, change the circumstances, try new things, try to get really good at something. Every time you push yourself out of your comfort zone, it gets bigger. It will not be easy, but it's worth it.